I read an article about the marathon story, or at least I started, and I had some thoughts, but maybe I should just read the whole thing to you and then share my own opinions about it and everything. Turning off the air conditioner because it's too loud to talk and everything. But, today convinced me that a sizable chunk of gamers want Marathon to fail. Me, I do. And there's not a lot Bungie can do. Well, I don't blame Bungie. I blame Sony. Ever since the art plagiarism incident, the broader gaming community has taken every turn to be as bad faith about this game as possible. Actually, I'm not operating from a place of bad faith. To be honest with you, I've never had any interest in playing a shooter, broadly speaking. I don't like shooters, period. It's not that it's an extraction shooter, it's that it's a shooter. I hate all shooters equally. So, there you go, Every trailer is dissected and nitpicked to the last detail. Oh well, Every news drop is laughed at and ridiculed, and even the most good pieces of news are spun against it. I saw people who were complaining that the game looked too detailed, like the Unreal Engine slop, when Bungie announced that they were improving graphics. Now, Bungie, I was never a customer that was available to Bungie in the first place, okay? They're making games that are for gamers that aren't like me. They're not making games for gamers that have the kind of interest that I do, period. They never have, and they probably never will. They're just not interested in appealing to me as an audience, because I'm not, and anyways, I don't slight them for that. I mean, God, go make a game for whoever you want, whoever wants to play it. It's just, the only thing that I can do to pressure Sony, see, I feel, here's the problem, okay? I have a PlayStation 5. I bought it and everything. In fact, I went out of my way to get an early edition of the console, so that it would be hackable and everything. And the whole problem is that I've had it now for a number of years, and it's sat in the box, and not a single. And I've sat here wondering, when is there going to be an exclusive? An exclusive that is an RPG, a role-playing game, and is turn-based. When is that going to happen? Is Sony itself as a first party ever going to come forward with one? Are any of these people going to do this so that I'll have a reason to take it out of the box to play something? No, it hasn't happened in this whole entire time. I feel stupid. I feel like I should have known this. I feel like I should have done some research in order to know that Sony was going to make this live service pivot that they were going to make and everything, because it's not even just that they're interested in making live services. They're interested in making live services for people who want to play the kind of games that I fundamentally have never, ever, ever at any point had any interest in playing. So Bungie is caught in the crosshairs of a culture war, where the anger is more directed at Sony's direction, where we want, Marathon to fail because it will hurt Sony, not because it will destroy Bungie, And really, it's about hurting Sony at this point, because Sony not only made a live service pivot, it also has taken the Pareto principle, basically, into its business model, where it expects to make 80% of its business from 20% of its customers. And so as a consequence, gamers like me, who don't bring in fuck you money to the company, have been left out in the cold. We've been abandoned, effectively. I've had no reason to take the PlayStation 5 out of the box to play anything the entire time. I went and bought, Metaphor Fantasy for the console, really just more as a way of making sure that, the devs that were involved with Metaphor Fantasy got paid for a product that I found, that I played on my own, and I really loved it, so I wanted to pay them for it, because I probably found a pirated copy of it. I don't really fully remember the details of it, but I did. What I did, however, I played it on the PC, loved it, and so I went out and bought the PlayStation copy to make sure that they got paid, and then, that was it, but I haven't taken it out of the box because I've already played the game, and it may be worth something at some point, and I might be able to resell it to somebody, but look at this, this is, like I said, this is not, yeah, you're right, I want it to fail, but not, because I hate Bungie, not because I don't, this game was ever for me in the first place. It never was, you know. I'm not one of the people nitpicking it constantly. I don't give a shit about the art style. I care about the fact that Sony has made a live service pivot, that they've taken an 80-20 stance where they're expecting to make 80% of their revenue from 20% of the players. You know, I care that, you know, in the old days and everything for the PlayStation 1, you know, it wasn't like this. It wasn't like Sony was only interested in exclusives for a single type of gamer, you know. But nowadays, it seems like the only people that they want to make money for are the kinds of people who like shooters and everything, and they want to offer live services to shooters. You know, they don't care about MMORPG fans. They don't care about They don't care about RPG fans generally. They don't care about JRPG fans. They don't care about us at all. They've, you know, sure, you know, we might get Octopath Zero on the PlayStation 5 or Metaphor Fantasy, but those were never exclusives to the console and everything. So, you know, they're not really doing their job, you know, on this at all. You know, and besides which, my laptop is faster than the PlayStation 5 anyways. It's more powerful at this point, you know. You know, after the trailer today, not a single person outside the Marathon fan base was hyped about it due to the proxy of negative criticism. It even got to the point where during the streamer gameplay, its chat was instinctively shitting on it until the streamer said otherwise. There's almost like a cult-like hatred of Marathon from people online that don't want to see this game succeed at all and are just praying for its downfall. It's depressing, but this game is going to have a Bungie launch. Every pixel gets nitpicked and ridiculed. There are unrealistic expectations set on Bungie devs, and sales will probably suffer as a result. As sad as it is to say, I don't expect this game to jump back into good graces until it's actually out and reality proves people wrong. Bungie can't really do anything to sway public opinion when everyone's minds are already made up. You know, this is... So, my general thrust on all this is, yeah, no, there's nothing Bungie could have done to win me over, because this is not the kind of game I want to play in the first place. Not only is it an extraction shooter, you know, which raises issues and questions in my mind, like, you know, what happens when a new player tries to enter the system and everybody's already got loot, you know. Some players have an unfair advantage at that point and you're fighting an uphill battle and everything, but also on top of that, I don't like shooters. You know, it's not an issue of like first person, third person. No, I you know, broadly this is a whole category of games that I could just say I've never had any interest in playing, so they've never been for me. But I see this, and I see it as a proxy for a much larger war that's happening against Sony, right? I see it as an issue that's happening because of the fact that I'm angry at Sony for its live service pivot. You know, I'm angry that it has decided that it doesn't need to work to win over, you know, RPG fans by gaining some exclusive property, you know, intellectual property in the form of a turn-based RPG. You know, I care about the fact that, you know, Sony seems to have been infested by an attitude of no RPGs, and that attitude still seems to hang high over the company and the stench of it, you know, and it's particularly acute, this genre and everything. The only RPGs that have found their way to the console have been readily available on the Switch and the PC, you know, and everything, and I feel abandoned by Sony as a corporation, so naturally I reached to a game that Sony was expecting to make a lot of money from and everything, and I wanted to fail, because the more that this company is abandoned by people, the more that Sony loses money, the less customers they have and everything, and the more money they start losing, the more they need people like me, and people like me don't want these kinds of games in the first place. We don't want shooters at all. You know, we want games like Octopath Traveler 0, like Metaphor Refantaso, and we want exclusives on your console to actually sell the console to us, you know? And what pisses me off is that Sony is no longer behaving as a company that is interested in marketing to a broad diversity of playstyles and gamers who want to play a broad diversity of games. They've stopped being exclusive, they've abandoned gamers like me, they have no interest in marketing to us, and I'm fucking tired of it. I'm tired of being treated this way by the company, and as a result I have no intention of buying the PlayStation 6. I got tricked this time around, and I'm mad about it.
actively angry with Sony for it. As far as for me, and as far as my interests are concerned, and the kinds of games I want to play, the PlayStation 5 has certainly become an overpriced paperweight, and I'm fucking tired of it. I'm mad about it at this point.